Whether you've encountered it or not, Tytalos is a Guardian Raid boss that has an interesting and somewhat difficult wipe mechanic, at least the first time you encounter him, and if you don't know what you're doing it can be very frustrating, so in this video we have you covered and we'll explain all of the things you need to know when you go to fight this monster, and if you want more Lost Ark guides and content, click subscribe down below and like on this video if it helps you out. So Tytalos is actually the final boss in the level 2 tab of the raids in the Guardian raids, and Guardian raids are an absolute fantastic source for accessories as well as leap stones every day, and even engravings and ability stones if you're lucky, so you do want to be doing these every single day. This particular monster is a recommended item level of 580, and you will have to beat him in order to progress onto the later Guardian raids, so you will have to actually finish this battle, which will mean learning the mechanics and the wipe mechanic of this boss. The first thing you need to know is the items to take with you. You will of course, like any other Guardian raid, need to bring health potions as well as flares so you can locate the monster at the beginning of the fight and when it changes to a different area. But for this particular Guardian raid, it is also advised to bring the Panacea potions, as these will be absolutely vital if you mess up the wipe mechanic and could end up saving you, so bringing these potions is definitely recommended. Tytalos is also weak to the fire element, so if you have the capability to bring fire damaging moves or to tripod your skills in order to add a fire element, this will help you. Much like all of the other monsters in the Guardian raids, it is counterable when it does a specific move and its color changes to blue for a couple seconds. During this time window, doing a move that is a counter move will knock it over and be a good DPS window. Every single class has a counter enabled move, you can see it in the skill descriptions, so make sure to bring yours. Much like all other monsters in the Guardian raids, he has a plethora of moves that he can do, from slashes to jumps to orb attacks. These are all pretty standard and you should just try and avoid them as best you can. However, there are several moves that are specifically linked to the wipe mechanic that you have to pay attention for in order to survive this battle. The first move that you absolutely have to look out for is when Tytalos flashes red and does a roar. This will summon 2 sand cyclones that will follow you around and home in on you very slowly. These sand cyclones are a super important part of the wipe mechanic and you will have to pay attention to their location while you're fighting. If you stand near the center of one of these sand cyclones, you will get a stackable debuff that lowers your speed. Once you reach 3 stacks, you will become petrified and become completely immune to all damage for 5 seconds. This is very important for later on. Do note that if you do get petrified, there is a 30-second debuff that you get afterwards that effectively means you cannot get the stacking debuff and therefore become petrified again for that 30-second period. This is very important because if you mess up the timing, you will need to use your Panacea potion as mentioned before in order to cleanse this 30-second debuff so that you can get petrified again. So next we have to talk about the wipe mechanic move where you make use of that petrification as mentioned before. When you see Tytalos standing still and charging with a red visual effect around him, this is the wipe move that will eventually let out a huge blast in all directions around him that will one-shot you if you are caught by it. The only way that you can actually survive this move while being near him is to make use of those sand cyclones mentioned before. When this happens, you need to immediately run or dash into the sand cyclones, accumulate all 3 stacks and become petrified in order to survive the blast. We advise that you try and keep 1 stack from the sand cyclone on you during this time period so that you only need to actually get 2 more by dashing into it, as sometimes you don't actually have enough time to build up all 3 stacks as he does the move. The whole fight becomes much easier when you know there's actually a tell relatively soon to when he's about to do his wipe move. Another type of attack that Tytalos will do is a sort of earthquake-like effect that will do a large AoE around him. This move is almost like a prerequisite for when he's about to do his wipe mechanic in the next 30 or 60 seconds. So when you see him do this earthquake move, you need to be on the ball and paying attention to the sand cyclone's location in order to quickly dash into them when he's about to do his wipe mechanic. By paying attention to the earthquake, you can estimate when the wipe move will come, and it will make it a lot easier to DPS outside of those windows of focus. So to recap, you want to look out for these sand cyclone moves, pay attention to when it's going to do an earthquake so that you know it's going to do the wipe AoE relatively soon. Once you see the wipe AoE, you want to dash into the Sand Cyclones, build up 3 stacks of the debuff in order to become petrified and become immune to the damage of the wipe. If you do get petrified too early, use the Panacea pots we mentioned before in order to cleanse the 30-second debuff so that you can then get petrified again. And now I want to ask you guys, if you have any tips that you know of to get extra honing materials, please put it down in the comments below, as well as to let me know in the comments how you get on with this Guardian raid after watching this video. And do click that subscribe button as well as the video on screen now if you're looking for more Lost Ark tips, guides, locations, and other interesting content that we've already got on the channel.